JP Morgan CEO Jamie Dimon is at Davos, Switzerland right now with the World Economic Forum elites, and he is out there fudding Bitcoin, even saying 21 million isn't the hard cap supply, but at the same time as he's secretly buying. We're going to say this might be a watch what they do, don't listen to what they say. Time to go around the blockchain. Thank you for joining everybody. And yes, I just zipped up. We have two phenomenal guests, including first time, if I'm not mistaken, and it is Zach Humphries. We got you in the hot seat in the green zone. Zach, how are you doing today? I've heard rumors that some people have told us about that. We look like the other. We can confirm we don't have the same parents as far as I know.
Right. Unless somebody was messing around with the milkman, right? Happy to be here, man. Yeah, I know, right?
Mother?
Yeah, lot to get into. But yeah, man, thanks for having me. Looking forward to it.
Also on today, we have Matthew Snider, and he's going to hold it down. And all he needs is one mic, like Nas, to drop the alpha. And Matthew Snider, how are you doing today?
Doing fantastic, DZ. Thanks so much for having me. Hope everybody's staying warm out there. No, it's been a bit breezy, so hopefully we can warm up the discussion today. And
type in the chat how cold it is where you're at. It was a low of 11 in Atlanta, hot Atlanta. I think it's like 34 degrees now. But yeah, let us know. Are you in a frozen tundra? Or maybe you're in Argentina hanging out with OJ Jordan, and hey, it's summer down there. Well, let's talk about Jamie Dimon on Bitcoin. I want to say, I just want to pull this quote here. Jamie Dimon thinks there's a good chance Satoshi will increase the Bitcoin supply. Is the world's or United States' greatest banker, and this is extremely incorrect understanding of Bitcoin. He's given his regular ill-informed crypto spills at CNBC. He says there are use cases for Bitcoin, though. Money laundering, fraud, tax avoidance, and sex trafficking. That's his words. But he does say, I defend your right to do Bitcoin. I don't want to tell you what to do, but my personal advice is to not get involved. At the same time, they're getting involved. Now, Matthew Snider, you got a little bit of an insight into some of these asset managers, what these big banks are doing. I said this could be a chance of, you see what they're saying here. You see what they're doing over there. Is there a disconnect, or do their actions match Jamie Dimon's most recent words?
You got to think, it's like he's trying to brand his own version of gold. Like he's saying, oh, you can't participate in this one ecosystem because it's for all these things that, for one, I've never done any of those things. So it must be for other things as well. But it's like branding a lemonade stand differently than the little boy down the street. It's the same lemonade, but for some reason, there's this need for them to disassociate between something that's completely decentralized so that it's okay for them to then go say, oh, we have a private instance of this blockchain. We use other tokens on this technology, and we're going to do it for a whole bunch of other reasons to facilitate transactions, et cetera. But don't use this technology for this other thing that we can't control, which is just ridiculous.
Almost as ridiculous as Delaware weather right now, 19 degrees, 27 in Charleston. Yeah, I think it's a little bit ridiculous. He also had another ridiculous statement that followed up. If you have some kids watching earmuffs, Dimon responded when asked about Bitcoin, I don't care. So just please stop talking about this shit, he said on CNBC with the World Economic Forum elites. Now, Zach, what were your thoughts of that statement right there? I mean, do you think he honestly believes Bitcoin is that bad? Or is this, is he lying or stupid?
Well, I think you nailed it. I think right at the top there, don't listen to what they say, listen to what they do. And here's what we know for sure what they're doing. They're an authorized participant on the BlackRock ETF. So that goes to show you right there that they're all in and they want to make money on this too. So why he's saying this, I don't know. I mean, does he want the price to come down? Did they not buy enough when Bitcoin was 15, 16,000? Are they trying to manipulate the markets? That wouldn't be something new. But the fact that they're an authorized participant on the BlackRock ETF, to me, says it all. I mean, they want Bitcoin to do well.
Very, very well. Now, what do you think about Bitcoin's eventual price decline, Zach? Do you think that they do want to push people in this asset class only to have it fall 70% 2 years from now? Or do you think there's maybe a plan in place where we won't see the usual drawdowns?
Yeah, I think they definitely want to do that. I mean, we've seen $10 billion come in, I think, in the first 3 days in volume. Bitcoin's price really hasn't moved up. But, that's because there's obviously selling and buying pressure going on. But there's no doubt just over time, Bitcoin's going to be less volatile. It already is showing that, I think, even in this most recent bear market. But they also know that there's still a lot of money to be had. And, that's why the BlackRocks of the world and these big players, they want to own as much as they can. And I think, quite frankly, they don't care about buying it right now. They're just going to buy more when it does drop, right? Because we know a big drop will come eventually in the bear market. They'll just be bigger buyers.
You said that they'll buy more. Well, hey, he is also saying maybe they'll create more Bitcoin. It won't stop at 21 million. Matthew, he said Satoshi. He didn't say Satoshi. Satoshi. Now, Bitcoin has mining rewards. Just a little background for the audience here. In the year, it's predicted 2140. There will be no more Bitcoin block rewards. Once a certain division is less than a certain amount of zero, there's a certain amount of zeros, it is just zero. There's zero rewards, 2140. He's saying Satoshi can just pop up in the year 2140 and just make more. He's going to pop up on your computer screen, he said. He literally said he's going to pop up on your screen. What do you make of that?
If I'll have 2 of whatever he's having, because that's a pretty impressive statement to make, considering this entire ecosystem is built on code that can't ever be changed. So I don't know how it's going to happen. It would be a little bit like David Blaine making the Statue of Liberty disappear for real, I guess. I don't know. But I think that that's just an anathema statement. Although I will point out, it's a little annoying that from a clickbaity perspective, they're saying Satoshi versus Satoshi. Like, we know what he means. Why do we have to make fun of him for maybe mispronouncing the name? I don't know. Just seems like a low hit for somebody who's saying something so ridiculous to begin with. Can we just have the smarter argument, which is he's just being dumb about this?
That's actually a really good point. Let's actually debate him on the false merits, not a false pronunciation. Dang it, Matt, with the good insight there. All right, well, Zach, last one on this topic now. Owen, can you share my screen? Again, cover your kids' eyeballs for this one. JP Morgan has their own issues with human trafficking. They had a almost $300 million settlement because they helped finance Jeffrey Epstein's human trafficking ring, is the allegation. Is this a little deflection, in your opinion?
I think so. I think for sure. And we see this with anybody who's super powerful. That's the game they play. So yeah, for sure. I think, just to put a bow on it from my perspective too, it's like, I guess the other side of it is Jamie Dimon this out of touch that he doesn't even know that JP Morgan is an authorized participant?
Well, let's share the screen. We got a picture. This is actually him at Davos. This is a recent photo. I don't know what he's looking at. Maybe someone crossing the street or something. I don't know. Yeah, that's Jamie Dimon, for those who are wondering. All right.
Yeah,
well,
I'll have 3. I'll have 3 or 4 or whatever he's taken.
All right. And When Harry Met Sally, one of the best movies of the 80s. All right, let's move forward to talk about Coinbase versus SEC. Let's share the screen right here. Coinbase, SEC face off in federal court over the regulator's crypto authority. This is a breaking story. There's a lot that happened today in the court. I'm just going to kind of give you a brief rundown. So Coinbase asked the judge to dismiss the case because they said, hey, stocks, bonds, they can regulate that, but they can't regulate crypto. Then the judge pressed the SEC, hey, what exactly constitutes an investment contract, aka a security? Then the SEC also said Coinbase they're operating illegally. But then the judge said, well, I am concerned that what you're asking for is to broaden the definition of what constitutes a security, meaning the definition of security is so vague, they can point the finger at everybody and say, you're selling a security. Oh, Charizard foil, you're selling a security. Then the SEC, they also targeted their staking program within Coinbase. But the SEC lawyer did champion one aspect of crypto, Bitcoin. Bitcoin is different from other cryptos. What makes Bitcoin different is it does not have an ecosystem. Ordinal holders right now are furious. It does not have an ecosystem, whereas this is different from other tokens. Because when you buy a different token, you buy their entire ecosystem and the entire incentive. Last but not least, the judge, she had a comment on the Howie test. She said Howie Mandel is one of the best game show hosts. But she also had a comment on the 1934 ruling here. We had a good run. We had 90 years where these security laws have been applicable to these markets, but now we have something new. So it doesn't look too good. Now, Zach, what's your breakdown here? Is it looking just the immediate day? We only got 1 day's worth of hearing. Things could change tomorrow. Things could change the day after that. But how are you feeling right now? Are you leaning more towards Coinbase's favor or SEC's favor for victory?
I think Coinbase's favor right now. And, this judge has dealt with crypto before in a swap, something against Uniswap, in a case against Uniswap, and that went in Uniswap's favor. I think their arguments are just weak. I listened to a little bit of it. I know it was like 4 or 5 hours today, which is way too long in and of itself. But listening to a little bit of it, I mean, the arguments were pretty weak. And Coinbase didn't really have to say much of anything. It was one of those deals where it's like, you know what? Just sit back, be quiet, and let them kind of shoot themselves in their own foot. That's what it felt like to me today.
All right. And we have a comment I wanted to highlight here. R.A. Daniel. Owen, can you share my screen? Damn Epstein face. He does a little bit. Not bad. I like that. All right. Back to that Coinbase here. Matthew, last time we saw a positive development in a SEC court case, it was XRP. It wasn't even a total victory. And a top 10 coin was still able to double its price in a matter of days. Many people predicted, its market cap is way too high for that to happen. It happened. What will a positive outcome happen here? I mean, what kind of pump are you expecting? They did name a bunch of coins, not Bitcoin.
I'm going to take, so let's assume that Coinbase has a favorable outcome in just the narrative of this, which, to go back for 1 second, would be just an amazing feat for us as a country to recognize that securities law can be expanded, but we could also just create new laws about a specific technology that emulates some of those laws, but has its own features and sets. Like, there's no reason why we can't do that. People are just lazy and we don't want to come up with new regulatory regimes. From a Coinbase perspective, I'm going to take the Jim Cramer point here and say, I like it at 420, but maybe a year from now. Whereas he liked it at 420 right after the IPO and it went down to like $30. I'm a holder around $40. So I'm loving where Coinbase is right now. And it's a long-term hold in my portfolio for sure.
Any coins, I'm going to ask both of you. I'll start with you, Matt. Any coins that you would say I would want exposure in case, a pump does come? What coin would you have on your radar that might pump the hardest from this?
Bitcoin.
I like that. Zach, what coin's on your radar for this story here?
I'll say Solana, just because we've seen it pump so hard recently. Maybe it has another little boost.
Okay, and they named 13 coins. Yeah, Solana, one of them. Cardano's another file coin. You can check out the list online. All right, let's talk about XRP, everybody. Ripple's CEO slamming a very hostile Gensler, but at the same time, people are mad at Brad Garlinghouse because he also had a comment on canceling the IPO, everybody. Let me pull down to this part of the story here. One of the definitions of insanity, he's talking about Gensler right here, but also further added in the interview that going public with an IPO in the U.S. wasn't currently in the cards because of Gary Gensler's and the SEC's approach to crypto. In the U.S., trying to go public with a very hostile regulator that's to approve your forms, that doesn't sound like a lot of fun to me. Famously, the S1, SEC cleared Coinbase's S1 and then sued them later. So he brings up a pretty good point here. Now, Zach, what are your thoughts of an XRP IPO? Do we want one? Do we need one? Is the community clamoring for one? Will this hurt? What's just your broad thoughts here?
Personally, I don't think we need one. I mean, I think, when you look at XRP and Ripple, what they've done since they've been in that lawsuit, since December 2020, they've really expanded their footprint everywhere else outside the US. And it's clear that Brad Garlinghouse and company have enough money to fight the good fight. I think it's well over $100 million. So, I mean, for them to need a Ripple, IPO, I really don't see that. I think they're just going to expand their product. And if they have to go all the way outside the U.S. and make their headquarters outside of San Francisco, I don't think they're afraid to do that.
Now, Matthew Snider, what would an IPO do to XRP's price? Is that going to steal some of the thunder or bring in extra attention that then adds to even more price volume there?
It's a really good question because, essentially what they would be doing is taking shares of Ripple and making them equity so people could own them in their portfolios or 401ks, whatever the case may be, traditional stock exchange. Now, in some sense, does that dilute any of your holdings of XRP? Because they're two different things, right? So I think that that's a very good question. If you believe in the narrative that Ripple is producing technology that's going to fundamentally change the way finance logistics are handled, then all day I would want to own both. And I think that it's definitely a bullish sign for XRP. And just back to the question about do they need an IPO? It's easy to eschew the notion of an IPO when nobody in 2024 is really going to bother with an IPO. It's just not a great environment right now. I think you're going to see a lot of pent up demand, and you're going to see a lot of these happening in 2025. So this is an easy way for them to say, it's not in the cards for us right now. I think we're going to wait for a better opportune time for this. Of course, the challenge is not a lot of people are able to raise debt either. So if they're paying a ton of money to go fight these battles, you got to ask and wonder, how long can that money last? But we have no way of knowing because they're a private company. So it would be nice to get a little transparency, but I would definitely buy some.
Hey, we get to peek beneath the curtain or beneath the hood if they end up doing that. And Matthew, good job on using the word eschew. Not used enough. I eschew cashews in my shoe. All right, we have two different takes here. Zach, I'm going to ask you about Shake and Bake, SNB. Hey, shout out to Shake and Bake. And I feel bad for all the people in Oklahoma. Wind chill in the negative 20s, I think they said, or teens. Shake and Bake says, if IPO, then poof goes the price. However, someone else was saying, I don't think it'll do too much. Two different playing fields. So this person saying, it won't affect it too much. Zach, where do you come in?
I think I agree with the second person a little bit more. I think it is two different playing fields. I think the people who invest in XRP probably are the non-traditional finance people for the most part, right? They're going against the grain. I think there are some parallels here, even with Bitcoin, right? It's like, how do you want exposure to Bitcoin? Do you want to own it, and really control it in your own way and hold your own keys? Or do you want somebody else to hold that Bitcoin for you?
Hey, this is a great question for Matt. Jay has a great question here. Why does crypto need IPOs when they already have ICOs? I thought tokens would replace stocks for companies in the future as things are tokenized. IPO feels like a step backwards. Matt, what do you think of that?
So it's a great question. And we need to separate the difference between what a token does for a blockchain ecosystem and what tokenization would do for a stock for a traditional company. So that tokenization for a traditional company essentially doesn't necessarily fractionalize that stock, but it makes it a lot more dynamic and a lot more traceable. So it's kind of like a stock 2.0 or a stock, I hate to say stock 3.0, like a web 3.0, but it's a new dynamic layer for a stock that could trade as an equity. You could do the same thing with bonds, collateralized debt obligations, anything that is in the traditional finance sense. You'd be able to tokenize that real world asset, as we like to call it. But the ICOs are required for the blockchain ecosystems that have launched an ICO to actually disseminate their coins, to provide rewards for users, to facilitate the network and all those kinds of things. So they are two very different vehicles, and again, it's a fantastic question because many people think that we're going to go from a traditional stock system and then companies are going to start ICOing. And that's actually, I don't think, going to be the case. They'll have a traditional IPO structure because it's a public offering to people as a registered security in the United States, whereas there is really no blueprint or no regulatory standing around an initial coin offering, which is not necessarily recognized by the Securities and Exchange Commission.
Snider, if an ICO had to go through all the rigmarole that we saw with the SEC, you got to file tons of paperwork, you got to get a bank agreement or a bank partner, would you feel more comfortable about ICOs, or would that take away all the alpha?
If by alpha you mean insider trading and market manipulation, then yeah, it would take away a lot of alpha. It would also
I follow this guy on X. His name's Matthew Snider, and he gave me this really good insight, and I felt like I had the alpha.
That's good. Yeah, no, so that's fair. I think it would give YouTubers a lot less to go on and a lot less hype to deal with, and I think it would actually level out the market a bit. I think it's really important that we bring these kinds of regulatory paperwork things, these reports, these earnings. Tell me what the price to earnings ratio is. Tell me what the revenue is. Does this blockchain make any money? Do people use it? How many users do you have? Like, those kinds of things are so important when it comes to fundamental analysis. But what we do right now is look at how many Twitter followers they have, see how good their homepage looks like, and if the token has 5 zeros in front of it, I'm going to buy 1 billion of them.
Oh man, that's I feel seen right now. It's sometimes we don't have much metrics. Hey, they have a yellow check mark. That means they have 10K to blow. Zach, those questions he just asked, what's your monthly active users? What's your revenue like? What's your earnings per share or earnings per token? Are crypto degens ready for those questions? Or I'm sorry, are they ready for those answers?
Yeah. I don't think so. I think the market's maturing a little bit, but it's going to take a while. I think, I look at Bitcoin as just something completely different. Everything else is still super speculative, right? I mean, even, a project that was in the top 10, like Terra Luna, just collapsed and folded, gone forever, right? And it's like, then you still have Dogecoin hanging there. It's like, so what makes sense? Nothing does right now. And I think we're just so early that the type of investor, especially altcoin investor, I don't think we are ready for that, quite frankly. And I mean, a reason for that is just because we have no guidance. We have no guidance in what's what yet, right? We're trying to maybe get there with this lawsuit, Coinbase and SEC.
Well, Matt, we do have some guidance, and can we share my screen one more time? This guy, he's given us the guidance. He's with the elites. He's rubbing elbows with the billionaires. But someone in chat pointed out something good. What do billionaires do when they want to buy an asset? They go public and poop all over it. You think that's happening here? Is he purposely fudding Bitcoin? Is he pooping all over it like they're doing the sex workers in Davos? I shouldn't have said that. I apologize to all SWs.
I'm going to take the line here and say that it's probably possible that Jamie Dimon, one, doesn't care and just doesn't know anything about this. Like, we have to, we live in this ecosystem. We know about these tokens. We know about this technology. This guy is the highest paid government official in the world. You think he really has time to deal with this? He's got $300 million lawsuits trying to name him as somebody who is probably on that island. And you got to think this guy's got a whole bunch of bigger problems than trying to poop.
Let me follow up. Let me follow up on that, Matt. Look at my screen right now. This is top assets by market cap. Bitcoin's top 10. So do you really think a top 10 asset he doesn't have a strong understanding of?
I think the latter argument then is that he is and should be utterly terrified, as should the entire financial ecosystem be terrified that something unknown and unowned, owned by people, could be the actual power producers in this country.
If he was terrified, would his remarks resemble what we saw today?
Mine would.
I like that. I'm reading between the lines too. I'm thinking maybe he is terrified seeing Bitcoin coming in top 10 asset by market cap. That must, shake some people, shake them in their jimmies, if you will. Well, folks, I think we had a fantastic episode. We're at the half-hour mark here. We're going to go ahead and cut off. But Zach, thank you for joining on. We're going to go give you the mic for 10, 20 seconds. Just tell the people, where can they find your stuff? What are you out here making? And can you confirm or deny, are we brothers?
Thanks for having me, man. It's been a pleasure. So over on X, you can find me there. The handle there at the bottom left. Just my name over on YouTube. And I don't think we're brothers, but who knows, man? I mean, everybody says they've got a long lost brother. So again, maybe something was happening with the milkman. I don't know.
Hey, Zach, you know what? We're all George. We're all blood. Hey, we're all in this together, folks. We're all Satoshi's vision, not BSV holders. Well, just delete. All right. Well, folks, that's all we got. Make sure you go ahead and hit the likes. I see a lot of you jumping in, telling me the temperature. Tell me what you think about Jamie Dimon jumping in on this poll. But we only have 7 likes. So go ahead, smash that like. We got hundreds of people watching. I know we can get that number higher. Thank you for joining today, everybody. The links are going to be down in the description for the 2 guests below. So make sure you go follow all their stuff. They're putting out really good content. Zach, stick around. We'll chat after the show. We'll see you folks tomorrow morning.